Hi. I wanted to make this video because there's a lot of people that talk about getting the work done cheaper somewhere else, and I just wanted to go through what it means to get cheap work done in some parts of the world, or even some parts of the US, because a lot of people have questions about this. And there's a lot of comments about price competition and things like that, where it's like, okay, I can get this done for cheaper. And they'll come into our office, and our office usually right now, $30,000 to $50,000 to get your whole mouth done. And that depends on what material you're doing, because there are snap-in dentures if you're popping them on and off. And then you have a synthetic polymer one that's stronger than denture, but not quite as strong as zirconia. And typically people call that the all-on-4. And then you have zirconia, which is this one, and it's a little bit more custom to the person. But those are the three options that people are typically talking about when they do a full mouth restoration. Now, when you have these are dentures, and those are gonna run you anywhere from $6,000 to $8,000 to do your whole mouth. If you do the snap-in ones that come on and off, where it's gonna be a lot more prosthetic, it's gonna be just like a denture as far as the material goes and how they feel, but they're gonna be more secure. They're not gonna move around on you. Now, those ones are gonna run you about $27,000 to do a full mouth. I've seen some guys say it's 32, some guys say it's 40, other guys say it's 25. The ballpark is gonna be right where we're at, which is anywhere from 20, it depends on how you finance it, it depends on where your teeth are at currently, it depends on if you have teeth, if you're going under for anesthesia, all of those things change the price. But usually, you're looking at about $27,000 to do that. On the PMMA, the ones that are, some of them call it temporaries, it just depends on where you're getting it done, but these ones are gonna run you about $36,000 for a full mouth. Some people don't offer temporaries, they're only gonna do the snap-in or zirconia. We will do the middle of the road option. And then zirconia ones, these are a lot heavier, they're a lot better. They're gonna run you $48,000 at this practice. But nationally, that's what the average is. I mean, I've seen some people here in Utah where they end up paying something like $65,000, $70,000 because the dentist wants the full fee, and then they will send it to a lab for $12,000 to $15,000 to get the final restoration made because they don't have it in-house. We do have an in-house lab, and so we're able to make it here. But you know, I go over that with almost every consultation I have. We come together, we say, look, this is snap-in, this is PMMA, this is zirconia. It's gonna range anywhere from, you know, the 27,000, whatever it is, to 48,000, whatever. I just say it's gonna run you about 30 to 50 grand. And when we go through those options, inevitably we get it to the point where somebody says, I can get it done cheaper somewhere else. And this is true. You can get the surgery done somewhere else, but you can't get what we're doing somewhere else because it's gonna be a different quality. A lot of people say, okay, this thing is universal. You're gonna get this done, or every office does this. And that's not true. I mean, offices do it differently. Offices price it differently. They might make you pay the full $50,000 and anesthesia on top of that. They might say, yeah, we're not gonna work with you on financing. We're gonna have you you gotta come in with it in cash. And so that's why they'll do it, because they don't have to do financing fees or anything like that. And they're gonna use knockoff parts. I mean, these screws are not just, everybody uses the same screws. Some people will use implants that are not as high quality. They'll use them where they don't have compatible parts. You might have a surgeon that is just gonna pop in the implants and say, okay, good luck. You know, if you ever want any aftercare, it's gonna be $2,000 per appointment. So I sold you the zirconia for 30K, but you know, these next two visits, these next 2 or 3 visits are gonna take up a lot of my time. That's gonna be 3K a visit. So now you're up to 40 grand, and then every maintenance visit after that's 800 bucks. And then you get up to the 45, 50 grand anyway, because there was a marketing gimmick of like, we'll do it for 30K, but you know, you need everything. It would be like, yeah, we'll sell you, it would be like, yeah, we'll sell you the engine of the car, but the wheels and like the wheels and the paint and the mirrors and the upholstery is all separate. It's like, obviously you don't want that, right? But then people will come in and say, hey, well, I saw you're selling this for $48,000. I have another dentist that'll do it for 37. Can we work something out? And yes, that of course you want to negotiate. Of course you want to come in and try and do it. But sometimes people do that at the expense of the dentist who's doing the work, and they'll say, well, this guy does it for 37, so I want you to give me this excellent quality, fantastic product and I only want to pay $37,000 for it. And it's like, well, if we are doing the same work that the dentist is, we're going to take out all the aftercare, we're going to take out all the custom work, we're going to take out all of the maintenance visits, and we're going to take out all of the follow-ups, and then we can get it to $37,000. And it's like, well, no, I want all that. Well, you can have it. It's going to cost you that to do it. That's what it is. I mean, these surgeries are not, they're not a bunch of dentists getting together and saying, let's corner the market and let's charge everybody $50,000, even though it only costs us, $5,000. That's not the case. Every person's different. Every person can have different fees that get tacked on to the dentist. Like if your case goes out a long time, I mean, in a lot of cases, if the dentist does it for half of what a dentist would, and then that case gets complicated or has other things come up, it eats away, and like the dentist might end up breaking even on the case, and making it not worth his time. There's also opportunity cost to consider. If he can be placing an implant or doing somebody else's full arch case, but he's committed to yours, and he's like, okay, I'm going to do yours at cost. And let's just say, for example, his costs are $20,000 to do the case, and he's going to see you 8 or 9 times after that happens. Well, he could be placing an implant and making $2,000, $3,000 on those visits to do single implants. And so when you take up 8 or 9 visits, you're looking at, $18,000 to $20,000 of revenue that he's giving up to treat your case. And so when it's like, why don't you just do my case for $15,000 like a guy in Mexico? Well, the guy in Mexico is not going to see it 15 times and make sure that it's healing up, make sure that the skin gets into it, or the skin heals correctly and is adjusted accordingly to the prosthetic. There's a lot of things that in the aftercare that people don't consider. They just say, okay, you're putting in some screws and some prosthetic. How hard can it be? It's like, well, it's incredibly difficult, and a lot of dentists did not go to the extra school to get it done. And there's some people who brag about, I'm going to I'm going to go get it done in Italy, or I'm going to go get it done in New Zealand or Australia or Thailand, wherever it may be. Wherever it's cheaper, they'll just use that as kind of a negotiating tactic from time to time and say, well, I'm just going to go to Mexico and get it done. Well, Mexico, you're going to have to take off a lot of time from work and fly down there. You're going to have to work with their schedule. I mean, let's just look at it as if you went to Mexico. You go to Mexico, and let's say you're going to Tijuana and you live in Colorado. It's a 5-hour flight or something. You go down there and they say, okay, we're going to fix it. Take 2 or 3 days off work. We'll put it all in there, and then you'll go back. Well, you take that time off work. You go back, you start working again, and you go, hey, doc, I paid $16,000 for my full mouth, but I smoke, or I chipped it, or I chewed too hard on it, or my gums couldn't take it, or whatever, and I have an infection. Okay, we'll take 3-4 days off. Why don't you come down? We'll take that out, replace it, come back every 2 or 3 weeks. We'll make sure that gets taken care of. If they even offer that, they might just say, good luck with your dentist in the US. But let's just say that is the case. Now you're doing 3 or 4 days, you're paying about $500 in flights, and you're going back and forth over and over and over again, taking all this time off work. Now it's an opportunity cost on your end, and you're going back and forth over and over and over again just to get something done. By the time you end up going back, getting it fixed, blah, 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 let's just say that he does fix everything he was going to fix originally. You're still looking at all of that time and cost. And then if anything goes wrong once you're here, then you've got to go to a US dentist. And let's say you did the all-on-4 and got this done here, or got it done in Mexico, and then you go to a dentist here and you're like, hey, I got it done 5 years ago. It's starting to feel weird. I think I have an infection on one of the implants. I smoke, or I have this or that or whatever, and all of the implants are infected. But I got it done in Mexico. The guy, that guy's not in business anymore. It's tough to work on him. And the dentist looks at your mouth and goes, well, those are Mexican parts. We don't have anything that works with those implants. We're going to have to move to Straumann or another implant company, for example, and we're going to have to replace all of this. And that, my fee on that is going to be to take the implants out, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be $25,000 an arch. You're looking at $50,000 for me to redo your whole mouth. Now you paid the guy in Mexico $16,000, $20,000. He's not going to take care of it anymore. You wasted all that time from work, and then you're coming back to the doctor and you're saying, hey, I need you to fix everything that they did to me in Mexico. And the doctor goes, I'm not doing that. I don't have the parts to work with those things from Mexico, so I'm going to take them out, let you heal for 4 months, put in new ones, and I'm going to charge you what I was going to charge you originally, because it's still the same amount of work on the dentist's end. Like, teeth coming out is not that big of a deal. You know, if you already have missing teeth, like if you have dentures or a full mouth of teeth, which you should not be replacing your full mouth of teeth if you have all healthy teeth. But anyway, whether it's 0 teeth or the full thing, it's still ranging you 30 to 50 grand. The majority of the expense is not in pulling the teeth. It's in opportunity cost, it's in lab fees, it's in staff, it's in him working on you for the next couple of months, making sure that everything goes according to plan. So there's a lot of things that people just don't realize these cases require. And you know, if you're going to get it done, there's one everybody talks about, going to Bionic Smile and wanting to get it done down there, and the restoration doesn't look good. Like, these teeth, they're not nearly as detailed as that. They're very blocky, and it looks just like one block of white. It's not even discernible that they are individual teeth in some cases. And they charge you for the surgery. They say it's $9 grand to do your whole mouth, and then after that, they're going to charge you every visit you come back, and oh, well, you needed special bone grafting, blah, blah, blah. I've talked to a lot of people that got it done at Bionic Smile, and they said, yeah, they said it was $9 grand. That's what got me in there. After I went in, it ended up being $40,000. It ended up being $45,000 for my special case. And so not only do you have the misleading element of, oh, it was $9,000, I thought it was 9, now it's 40, and they kind of trapped you in that, thinking it's $9,000, and then creeping the price up and up and up until you would have spent it anyway. And maybe that's what some people need to have it go forward. Maybe they need to see it break down like that so they can see everything, because $40,000 is a lot, but you're getting the ability back to eat again. I mean, anybody can tell you, I'll get you to eat, I'll get you to smile, I'll get you to talk again. How long can they get you to do that? How long does this restoration last is another thing entirely. You know, if you're getting a restoration done that is only going to last you 5 years, it's like, how long do you want this money to go? Do you want $40,000 to take you, you know, 3 or 4 years on a bad restoration, or do you want it to last you 15 or 20? And that's what you've got to, unfortunately, you're at a spot where there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of people doing this. There's a lot of ins and outs of the industry that a lot of people don't understand. And so it's not an easy spot to be in. It's not easy to go through this process. But the moral of the story is, cheaper, it means you're getting something else. It's not the same thing. And All-on-4, there's not 2 dentists doing the All-on-4 in Mexico is $20,000, and it's the same thing that a dentist here in the US is doing for $40,000. That is not true. There's a lot of corner cutting. There's a lot of interchangeable parts that can cause problems. The skill of the dentist and the necessary elements of your case. There's people that go down south all the time and have the implant go straight into a sinus. That's not to say that every dentist in the US is perfect at all. There's tons of good and bad dentists here, but you want to make sure that you're going with somebody that's going to do it right the first time as close as they can, and make sure that your restoration comes out to be the best thing possible. And you don't want to go to anybody that is bragging or really pushing and advertising that they can do your whole mouth for cheaper in Las Vegas than they can in Mexico. It doesn't make any sense, because all dentists have to follow these rules of costs and spending and staff and all these issues. There's very, very rarely a case, I only say that because I don't know, but there's not really gonna be a case where you're finding a really good quality dentist product and restoration for outside the range of $30,000 to $50,000. I would really say outside of 40 to 50. 30 is just because of snap-in. If you like snap-in dentures, that's always kind of a technicality. And then PMMA is a temporary that some people can get away with. So I would honestly say like 40 to 50,000. If it's anywhere outside of that range, something is fishy. They're doing something weird, and it's too good to be true. So if you're getting a killer deal, like if you can deal with PMMA, if you can deal with dentures, of course, go ahead and do that. But if you're like, I want full zirconia, good looking teeth that are gonna last me the rest of my life, anybody selling it for outside the range of $40,000 to $50,000 is something's up. Something is not right. If they're, and within that, right, maybe call it 35 to 55 for that. because zygomatics might cost some. They might not have the lab. You might be in a rural area where they can't get it to you. But yeah, 40 to 50 is closer. 45 to 50 is like generally the ballpark I usually see it in. If you're going way over that or way under that, something's up. Something's not right. And I've worked at this office, and people come in on their 5th and 6th consultations, and they say like, hey, I've been all these places. This guy said he'd do it for 38. This guy said he'd do it for 37. I said, oh, will they do the anesthesia? Will they do the crown? Will they do the restoration and the maintenance visits and things like that? And they go, oh, actually, I don't know. And it's like, well, they probably won't then. So you want to look for somebody who's doing it comprehensive. You want to look for somebody who's doing it in that range and who has a good track record of doing it in that time. And that's where you're going to find the most success. This is something you're talking about living with the next 20, 30 years and being fantastic for you to eat, speak, and socialize again. And so, obviously you want to get that for as cheap as possible, but at the same time, you need an expert. You need good parts. You need good equipment. You need a good staff, and you need an established doctor's office that's going to be there for you. And if you try and skimp on any of those things, it's going to cause trouble. I hope this was helpful. I hope that it gives you more insight as to what goes into doing these full arch cases, and hopefully you'll be able to get a really good thing done, whether it's at our office or anywhere else, that you'll use these kind of rules of thumb to go through the process and make sure that you're dealing with somebody who's professional and who will take you where you want to go. Thanks.